Keep going. Don't stop. Okay.
Don't stop.
We're recording, and I don't even know my line. We're recording, and I don't even know my line.